Sometimes, the smallest act of kindness can change your life forever. The rain poured relentlessly, drenching the streets as Sarah hurried home from her second job. Her worn-out sneakers splashed through puddles, and her thin jacket did little to shield her from the cold. She clutched her bag tightly, feeling the weight of the day's exhaustion in her bones. Life had been hard since her husband left, leaving her to raise their 6-year-old daughter Lily on her own. Every dollar counted, and tonight she had just enough to buy groceries for the week. As she passed the bus stop, she noticed a man sitting on the bench, his head bowed and his clothes soaked. He looked up as she approached, and Sarah's heart sank at the desperation in his eyes. "Excuse me, ma'am," he said, his voice trembling. "I don't mean to bother you, but I'm stranded. I need just $1 to catch the bus home. Do you have anything to spare?" Sarah hesitated. She had exactly $5 in her pocket, the last of her money until her next paycheck. She thought about Lily, waiting at home with an empty fridge and the groceries she needed to buy. But something about the man's pleading gaze tugged at her heart. Without a word, she reached into her pocket and pulled out the crumpled bill. "Here," she said, handing it to him. "Take it." The man's eyes widened in disbelief. "Are you sure? I mean, this is your last dollar, isn't it?" Sarah forced a smile. "It's okay, I'll figure something out." The man stared at her for a moment, then nodded. "Thank you. You have no idea what this means to me." As he boarded the bus, Sarah watched it drive away, her stomach churning with worry. She didn't know how she would explain to Lily that they'd have to skip dinner tonight. But deep down, she knew she'd made the right choice. Little did she know that single act of kindness would set off a chain of events she could never have imagined. The next few days were a struggle for Sarah. She skipped meals to make sure Lily had enough to eat, and the stress of unpaid bills weighed heavily on her mind. She tried to stay strong for her daughter, but the cracks were starting to show. One evening, as Sarah was helping Lily with her homework, there was a knock at the door. She frowned, glancing at the clock. It was past 8 p.m. and she wasn't expecting anyone. "Who is it, Mommy?" Lily asked, her eyes wide with curiosity. "I'm not sure, sweetheart," Sarah replied, her heart racing. She walked to the door and peered through the peephole. A delivery man stood on the other side, holding a large envelope. Cautiously, she opened the door. "Can I help you?" "Are you Sarah Thompson?" the man asked. "Yes, that's me." "This is for you," he said, handing her the envelope. "Have a good night." Before Sarah could ask any questions, the man turned and walked away. She closed the door, her hands trembling as she examined the envelope. It was thick and heavy, with her name written in elegant handwriting. There was no return address. "What is it, Mommy?" Lily asked, bouncing on her toes. "I don't know, honey," Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper. She opened the envelope and pulled out a stack of papers. At the top was a letter. "Dear Sarah, I'll never forget your kindness. You gave me your last dollar when I had nothing, and it changed my life. Now, it's my turn to change yours. Enclosed is a check for $50,000. Use it to take care of yourself and your daughter. You deserve it. With gratitude, a stranger." Sarah's hands shook as she stared at the check. It was real. The amount was written in bold numbers, and the signature was clear. She felt dizzy, her mind struggling to process what she was seeing. "Mommy, what's wrong?" Lily asked, tugging at her sleeve. Sarah knelt down and pulled her daughter into a tight hug. "Nothing's wrong, sweetheart. Everything's going to be okay." But as she held Lily close, her mind raced. Who was this stranger? And why had he given her so much money? The next morning, Sarah woke up early, her mind still spinning from the night before. She had barely slept, her thoughts consumed by the mysterious check and the stranger's letter. She needed answers. After dropping Lily off at school, Sarah decided to visit the bus stop where she had met the man. Maybe someone there had seen him or knew who he was. The rain had cleared and the streets were bustling with people, but the bus stop was empty. She approached a woman sitting nearby, selling newspapers. "Excuse me," Sarah said, holding up the letter. "Did you happen to see a man here a few days ago? He was sitting on the bench asking for help." The woman squinted, thinking for a moment. "Oh, yeah, I remember him. He looked rough, like he'd been through a lot." "Ooh, why? What's he done?" "Nothing," Sarah said quickly. He helped me, and I just wanted to thank him. Do you know where he went? The woman shook her head. Sorry, dear. He got on the bus and left. Haven't seen him since? Sarah's heart sank. She had hoped for a lead, but it seemed the stranger had vanished as quickly as he had appeared. As she walked back home, her phone buzzed. It was a text from her landlord. Rent is due tomorrow. Don't forget. Sarah stared at the message, her stomach churning. She had the check, but something about it felt wrong. What if it was a mistake? What if it was stolen? She couldn't risk cashing it without knowing where it came from. That evening, she decided to visit the bank. Maybe they could help her verify the check's authenticity. The teller examined it carefully, her eyebrows rising as she saw the amount. This is a legitimate check, the teller said. It's from a private account, but everything checks out. Would you like to deposit it? Sarah hesitated. Can you tell me who it's from? The teller shook her head. I'm sorry, but the account holder's information is confidential. All I can tell you is that the funds are available. Sarah's mind raced. She didn't know what to do. The money could change her life, pay off her debts, give Lily a better future. But the mystery of the stranger gnawed at her. As she left the bank, her phone buzzed again. This time, it was an unknown number. You're wondering who I am, the text read. Meet me at the park tomorrow at noon. Come alone. Sarah's heart pounded. Was this the stranger, or was it someone else? She didn't know what to expect, but one thing was certain. She had to find out the truth. The park was quiet at noon, the sun casting long shadows across the empty benches. Sarah sat nervously, clutching her bag and glancing around. Her heart raced with every passing second. Who was she meeting, and what did they want? Just as she was about to leave, a man approached. He was well dressed, with a kind face and a warm smile. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. It wasn't the stranger from the bus stop. Sarah? He asked gently. She nodded, her voice trembling. Yes, who are you? My name is Daniel, he said, sitting down beside her. I'm the one who sent you the check. Sarah's eyes widened. You? But why? I don't understand. Daniel sighed, his expression softening. The man you helped at the bus stop? He's my brother, Michael. He's been struggling for years, battling addiction and homelessness. That night, he was at his lowest point. He had given up on life, but your kindness, it gave him hope. Sarah's mind raced. Where is he now? He's in rehab, Daniel said, his voice filled with gratitude. After you gave him that $1, he called me. It was the first time he'd reached out in years. He told me about you, how you gave him your last $1, even though you had nothing. That act of selflessness changed everything for him. Tears welled up in Sarah's eyes. I didn't do anything special. I just helped someone in need. Daniel shook his head. You did more than you know. That's why I sent you the check. It's not just about repaying you. It's about giving you the chance to start over the way you gave Michael a chance. Sarah looked down, her hands trembling. I don't know what to say. It's too much. Daniel placed a hand on her shoulder. You don't have to say anything. Just know that your kindness mattered. It changed my brother's life, and now it's changing yours. Sarah wiped her tears, a small smile breaking through. Thank you. I don't know how I'll ever repay you. Daniel chuckled. You already have. Just keep being the person you are, someone who cares, even when it's hard. As they sat in silence, Sarah felt a weight lift off her shoulders. For the first time in years, she felt hope. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew one thing. She would never forget the power of a single act of kindness. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring tales of love, resilience, and the unexpected ways kindness can change lives. Because sometimes one small act can change everything.